one of the beautiful things about my company, Sensory.ai, is that it uses non-conscious data. There is the neuroscience of desire. How do you make a consumer understand the product so well that they are dripping with desire for it?
It was super excited. Anyhow, Dr. Pradeep recently published a book called NeuroAI, a very special book about super deep conversation and deep knowledge, combination of applied neuroscience and artificial intelligence. So why Dr. Pradeep was so special for us? Well, because first of all, he is very, very knowledgeable in the area of neuroscience and artificial intelligence. And he actually published already 3 books before. And those books, they're all about application, like practical application of neuroscience in our real life. And I believe it's very important subject matter. So how actually our brain works when we're purchasing things, okay? How our brain works in like real life settings. Those books, his past books, are very, very interesting, and I highly encourage you to read. But today we will talk about his last book he published just recently. Also, Dr. Pradeep actually he's founder of several companies. The last one is Sensory AI, and we're going to talk about his last company. The two companies he had, they were acquired by big corporations, but they were all about learning, researching how actual human brain reacts to environment, how sensations work. So super excited. Hopefully you too. So Dr. Pradeep, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. And I thank you for your kind words. And you were very sweet and very kind. Most appreciative of it. I'm really looking forward to our discussions like I did in 2019 as well. So I am excited for you, your listeners, your followers, and would love to share our excitement about neuroscience and generative AI.
Impressed with your message you sent and your video that you published on LinkedIn. And the message was actually about how AI is actually opens so much opportunity for human beings. So we can do so much more. I've heard so much positivity, excitement than any other, product. And you mentioned very important thing. You mentioned the personalities, the human desires, dreams, and etc. That nowadays a person can be anytime, try any possible settings works just by using AI. So tell a little bit, why do you think, why you have such a positive, because there are multiple ways, we will talk about it, multiple ways of thinking about it. Why do you have positive perspectives on the AI, an application of AI?
Absolutely. When you think about it, Genia, you could think about it as the same way we have atomic energy. Now, atomic energy can be utilized to power people's dreams, send energy everywhere, create scanners, create various devices that channel human creativity, enable the realization of human dreams, etc. That very same atomic energy can also be used for destructive purposes. So many times, it is really not the fault of the technology, but really how we decide to use it. And everything that is true for atomic energy is also true for artificial intelligence. And so when you think about it, there are so many things we all aspire to do. And you have said many times, I only have one life. God, I wish I could be an artist, a creator, a musician, a dancer, a story writer. There are so many facets of human creativity that will each take a lifetime to master, a lifetime to express ourselves. But our lifetimes are so limited. Our ability to gain that expertise is so limited. And so much of human living is lost in frustration that we are unable to express, unable to reach the sublime places in our mind we can reach. And you ask yourself, what can we do to bring out that inner artist, inner musician, inner storyteller, inner scientist, inner teacher, and inner student as well? And very quickly, you find that algorithms today enable us to realize those dreams we never talk about. We never talk about those dreams we have because society tells us, oh, no, no, no. You don't have the talent, you don't have the time, you don't have the mastery to get anywhere. So,
Limitations.
yeah. And what artificial intelligence, generative AI in particular, allows us to do is to find that humanity within all of us. It puts us in touch with the dreamer, the creative child that is within all of us. And part of our excitement at blending neuroscience with it is that it takes that 10,000 steps further. Because in connecting neuroscience to the capabilities of generative AI, we really put humanity at the center. There is no doubt. Once we infuse AI with all of our neuroscience learnings, humanity, what makes us human is at the
Big
center.
question.
Yeah, it's at the center of AI. It is no longer a clinical thing. It is no longer a set of algorithms. It learns to weep and feel like we do. And then we have created a true partner in our journey. The algorithm becomes somebody that understands not only the person, but the species. And that's powerful.
Several questions arise. So, first, sensation. You mentioned that multiple times. The feeling, the way how we feel ourselves, that we want to be a particular, person, we want to be an artist, we want to be an inventor. And here's a big question for humanity: the way how we it seems like the way how we express it back then and how people express all those things now changes with time. And this touches a lot of aspects, especially the aspect of the design landscape. Okay, so the way how people sensationally absorb, interpret things seems like changes big time, right? So what from your perspective, what are those main things that actually changes?
So
How
it's
algorithm transforms, how all those algorithms, how they transform the design
yeah,
landscape.
it's a great question. Now, unlike iOS 15 or 16 or 17, where every few months there is a beautiful software upgrade from Apple or from Android, the human operating system has had no upgrades. We are the same creature that was there thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. That we wear different clothes. We live a little longer. We get our information through different channels. Yet, what motivates us, persuades us, seduces us remains the same. The way it happens is a little different, but what happens is the same. So, what's interesting is that neuroscience teaches us all of the things about us that remain the same. And what algorithms do, they learn the different modalities and sensibilities of how we express love, as an example. In the old days, a man or a woman or two people in love, be they men or women, would look at each other and say, I love you. Today, they send a love emoji. They send a XXOO. So the emotion is the same, but it is communicated differently. The core is the same, but the way in which it is made apparent or communicated changes. So, what algorithms today do, and one of the beautiful things about my company, Sensory.ai, is that it uses non conscious data. That is to say, if you look at the non conscious of the human mind, the millions of little things that we all absorb, even as you are hearing me talk, you're paying attention to my words. That's your conscious mind. It is understanding the meaning of my words. What is your non conscious mind doing? It is looking at the pauses between my words. Where do I stop? Where do I raise my voice? Where do I lower? What emotions are coming through my words? What are my hand gestures? Where do I lean in? Where do I sit back? A million details are processed by your non conscious mind. And so, in my book, I talk about 95% of decision making is non conscious. As your listeners are listening to this little podcast and video cast, in 5 minutes, they've already decided whether they like me. In 7 minutes, they've already decided whether they're going to go to Amazon and buy my book, NeuroAI. In 10 minutes, they've already decided whether they want to hear more. Everything has already happened. And yet we will spend half an hour or 45 minutes or an hour pretending nothing has happened. Everything has already happened. And so when you think about the incredible sensations, we perceive our world not necessarily through words, but through senses. What we hear, what makes us feel. And that's why my company is Sensory.ai. We create sensations, be that through fragrance or flavors or music or stories or innovations that blow your mind. It is through sensations. And by using non conscious data, you make sure that you are always in touch with how people express themselves in modern times. Is there a way today that we talk that is different than the way we spoke yesterday or the day before? The algorithms keep track of that. And therefore, the algorithm forever looks young, relevant, and somebody you would like to talk to. So it doesn't, how many times do you say to somebody, oh, I love my father or mother, but they don't understand my world. It's very hard to relate to them. They don't understand what I do. Well, the algorithms will always understand what you do. You will always be able to relate to them, talk to them in a manner that you like to talk. That intense personalization of algorithms make it easy for you to communicate. That is the beauty of algorithms evolving, knowing how to communicate, knowing who you are as a person, and you working with them as a real partner.
So the question is, a couple years ago, to find any information, we will take, for us, it would took, probably a few minutes. Now it takes seconds. Okay. So same with the purchasing. Before it took a while, it used to take a while to find certain information, to research information. Now it takes seconds. What do you think? How this influence the sensational part of the brain? Does it
Yeah.
make any changes? By the way, I would like to some refer to one research I recently found. Well, it'd been several months ago, but still, it's pretty new. It says that before, all marketers, we know that as a human brain, as a human being, we all like to see a human face. So it doesn't matter what, our brain is always looking for the faces. And moreover, if we see on the brand some just a human face, we trust. A human face seems for people, for human brain, seems familiar, trustworthy. The thing is, it turns out that all algorithms, because of all the technological advancement, this trend actually changes. Nowadays, especially for the younger generation that comes, it's absolutely different. It's absolutely different. They prefer to see a cartoon. So if cartoon character brings them more pleasure, transcend more trust than a human being's face. What do you think about it? And what?
So let's talk about that because it's a very beautiful. You're very right. Forever, a human face will always be the one that engenders trust, makes you want to look at it, etc. And it is still true. However, with a big difference. You see, the human face, when you show the face, your brain is biologically programmed to look at it, in particular eyes and lips, etc., to figure emotion, right? We try to read emotion. Anytime you show a human face that is as big as a real human face, as my real human face, if it is big, you want to look at it. You will pay attention. When it is far away and the face is smaller, your brain says, I cannot see your face really to understand emotion. Now, today, in screens that young people use, the size of the face is so small. There is an exponential drop in the human ability to read emotion when the size of the face becomes smaller. The smaller the face, I can't read emotion. In old days, you would have human faces on big billboards, on big screen TVs, on movie theaters, big faces. When the face is the same size or bigger, the emotional engagement increases linearly. When the face is smaller, the emotional engagement decreases. The younger generation today sees most things in small screens. In small screens, faces really don't communicate emotion. Therefore, they replace emotional engagement. You replace emotion with motion. In smaller screens, our brain is programmed. If there is a little ant walking on the table or on the screen, your brain is biologically programmed to track it. So, if you have a cartoon face or a cartoon walking around and doing things in a small display screen, your brain is programmed to track it. It's cognitively easy and fluent to track it. Therefore, the younger generation, when they consume and transact through a smaller screen, they will prefer a cartoon image where if it is smiling, it's the big lips with the smile and the image is walking around. The emotion is easy to decipher, motion is easy to find out, but a human face in a size of a postage stamp is very hard to know. That is why Because the size of the media being consumed is smaller, there is a shift from emotion to motion, especially with cartoons.
That's good to know. Thank you so much. You're always, always very knowledgeable. Another very big question regarding sensation. Well, because it's a high concern of all psychiatrists. So when we interact on a daily basis, there are so many sensations involved. And we're not talking about, audio, video. We talk all possible, as you mentioned, unconscious things in terms of, body movement, in terms of smells, in terms of other physiological micro elements, let's put it this way. So the thing is, when we switch to the digital world and trying to create whatever asset it is, we kind of literally handicap a human brain in terms of sensational journey, right? So
Yep.
what are your thoughts? Because sensations, creating a specific way of communication around a brand. We all know it's brand assets. It's all, marketing is about creating a special connection between human mind, human heart, and a real product, a real brain. So sensation, creating something as your company does, sensory, in terms of engaging with a different type of sensation. Of course, it's multiply, it's literally leverage the brand 100%. The question is not just about how. The question is, when we talk about digital, does it even possible? Does it even possible to use AI to literally create something that actually engage human sensation the right way? And what are those spectrum? What is the range a human brain is capable of accepting from the digital creation?
Yeah.
Just what your thoughts on the senses
Yeah.
created by digital media? Sensation.
No, and you're very right. The digital world today allows us extraordinary visual pleasure, extraordinary auditory pleasure, very little tactile sensations, nothing to do with fragrance, nothing to do with flavor as it stands today. Now, what is extraordinary is our brain's ability to imagine and compensate, right? It's extraordinary. We can imagine things and be moved by them and literally feel them. And I call them mouth-watering experiences. The winemaker, when they put a label on a bottle, uh, can only describe the wine. They describe its flavors, they describe its texture, they describe the palate and mouth feel, they describe how you may feel with it, they describe the time and the place you may be with it, but they can't really give you the taste of the wine because the wine is locked in the bottle. Question is, of course you're right. At Sensory AI, we not only create descriptions, we create the actual fragrances and actual flavors. However, there is the neuroscience of desire. How do you make a consumer understand the product so well that they are dripping with desire for it? And you can do that through the desire GPT algorithms we have. You can create.
You have desire. You have desire algorithm. Seriously?
Yes, we do. It is based on the
Interesting.
neuroscience of desire,
Is it
right?
publicly available?
Well, when I say it's in the book NeuroAI,
Ah,
we have dedicated a chapter to that. Right?
okay.
The interesting thing is, you may be unable to create fragrance for your consumer on their mobile phone or their computer monitor, but you could create in them a desire for it, right? You could make them desire it intensely through the science of desire. So
For
I would say,
example, because that's very interesting subject matter. Can you please explain what do you mean by this?
yeah. So there is the neuroscience of desire. And if you
Mm-hmm.
probe, say, how does the brain feel and think about desire? Is there a way to understand it? Yes. And the key and the clues lie in neurotransmitters, right? So there is the notion for familiar, you can ask yourself and think back to your life. Haven't you desired comfort and familiarity, like a bowl of soup, maybe borscht, or some wonderful tomato soup that your mother or grandmother made on a cold day? You want a warm blanket and that cup of soup. It's familiarity, your desire for familiarity. And then you also have a desire for excitement, for newness, the kind of desire you feel waiting in that long line in front of an Apple store, waiting for the iPhone 16 to drop. You're excited. Or you're walking through an IKEA store or a Walmart or a Target looking to see what's new that I can buy today. Retail therapy, they call it. It is novelty and excitement, a desire for that. Then there is a desire for trust, right? Some in this uncertain, changing world, are there people I can trust, I can rely on, that I can actually believe in? Or is everything for sale? So our human brain looks for trust. Then there is a desire for cognitive fluency. That is to say, would you like a TV remote with 10,000 buttons? Or would you like an Apple TV remote with three buttons? Now you would say, my God, please give me the Apple TV remote with three buttons. It's the desire for cognitive fluency. And then it's not all of these. There is an intense desire for patriotism, for tribalism. Look, even you have the brain group, right? You have your own podcast show, the Human Brain Experience, the Human Brain Expo. You have your group, that sense of belonging. That's a very important part. And the last one, component of desire, is the desire for the aspired self. So you're not just a podcaster, you're not just an entertainer, you are a woman who actually is trying to create positive change. Your perception of yourself is more than your actions, more than what you do. There is a bigger, nobler purpose that you have tied yourself to. And in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that is the highest level of the hierarchy of needs. So you quickly find that desire has all of these elements. This is the neuroscience of desire. So whether it is a fragrance or whether it is a cereal, whether it is just a cup of coffee, a great marketeer would not only create sensory pleasures, there are 10 million of them on the planet, but how do you make your consumer desire what you have created? You do that by connecting along each of these limbs of the desire framework. And then suddenly, your consumer's brain, whether they watch a video on digital platform or they see something on social media where they can't smell it, they can't taste it, they can't touch it, and yet they desire it because you have spoken to them through the tools and the neuroscience of desire.
Okay, so basically, it's a matter of um, sending a certain message that comfort people or providing them, basically, as you mentioned, some need according to the Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, it's essentially a neuroscience framework. We use to analyze products to study how much desire it will create. We use it to study packaging to see how much desire it will create. We use it to study the billions of marketing messages online and offline. But that's just one part of it, Genia. The algorithms not only evaluate, they rewrite, redesign, and recreate to induce desire. That's
Uh, yes, you mentioned multiple times messaging, and you know that we literally live in the era of ChatGPT. And I really would like to ask a couple of questions and just your perspective on things, because honestly, when I first saw and got engaged with ChatGPT functions, I was literally was looking for some answers, and for me they were not completely clear. Moreover, without references, I don't know what this information comes from. For me, it was very suspicious. Plus, when I tried to search anything related to science, it was providing me not accurate information. And I started to literally question. For me, it was a questionable the entire value of all of it. But no, it turned out that it's a super excited product and a lot of people liked it. There are so many applicability in multiple different areas, which is absolutely exciting. And from my perspective, was not absolutely, predictable. Also, we have so many different aspects of ChatGPT. Nowadays, we have a algorithm that generate for us, images. We have algorithms that generate videos for us in our basically that meant to somehow simplify our work. Since you work in the marketing for so long, and you're kind of dealing with the brands, you're dealing with the products and the customers as well. From your perspectives, does this new wave, it's not already new, but it's definitely a wave, does it brings like really positive changes, or it creates just more issues that we probably already had? What is your perspective on the all the excitement, all the applications that we already experiencing and dealing with for the last years? What is your perspective on it? Do you completely agree that it's something that humanity and the human brain, human interaction, human needs, human dreams need, or something can be done better? What is your perspective?
no. So the way you think about this, first of all of Gen AI must never overpromise. If you overpromise, you will kill the field. This is not the solution to all problems. The way to think about generative AI is also the way to think about a little child. If you think about a child, its ability to create paintings and ability to say beautiful little things is amazing. Its ability to do math and science and logical puzzles will take some time because it's a child. Child is growing up. There is no difference between that and generative AI today. Generative AI is extremely mature in its creative ability. It can create things even better than the most talented artists, storytellers, perfume creators, flavor creators, inventors. It can imagine almost better than all of humanity. Its ability to reason and to invent in a structured, logical way is evolving. It can write incredible code today, which again requires logical thinking, but in a narrow domain. What is going to happen is this. The same way we have Midjourney that specializes in art, and we have Chat, maybe OpenAI's programs that generally specialize in conversational linguistic things. We will have specialized expertise slowly evolving. There will be algorithms dedicated and databases dedicated to law, algorithms and databases dedicated to perhaps selling, algorithms and databases dedicated to mathematics, algorithms and databases related to chemistry. So we will create specialized expertise over the course of time. That's all. It is just a matter of time and making and creating domain specific neuroscience integrated GenAI capabilities. That's it. So
Interesting. So
there
it's
is
you see it more like so it's more, you believe that it's going to be like more specific depending on the specific area, depending on the specific task, right? You see it
absolutely.
that way? Okay.
Absolutely. So when you
Interesting.
Michelin star restaurant, you expect to be a great chef, not a great storyteller, not a great perfumer. You expect to see a great chef. When you go to the hospital, you want to see a great doctor, right? Not a chef. I don't want a Michelin chef in a hospital. So our the way humanity works is that we have different areas with different specializations, and we therefore get to those things in different ways. So our approach to generative AI and neuro AI in particular is where we find that maturity exists in a compelling way in all of the sensory creative development. And that is why sensory.ai specializes in the application of neuroscience powered GenAI in the creative endeavors of humanity. We believe that we are making equal progress in logical, rational, and scientific applications of generative AI, and we are getting there. Day by day by day, progress is being made. We are at the dawn of a new, beautiful age where all the expertise, the internet today made available at our doorstep the knowledge of the universe. All of the knowledge is available as books, as pamphlets, as information. However, generative AI is making available at our doorstep experts. It is one thing to have a book, is another thing to have an expert. So, what generative AI is doing today is bringing to each one of us this exquisite collection of experts. It is democratizing the access to expertise. You see, only the wealthy people of the world could invite a Picasso home for dinner. You could invite a Michelangelo home for dinner. You could invite an Einstein home for dinner. Only the wealthy could do that in their parlors. However, today, the average man or woman can invite a great scientist, a great artist, a great mathematician, a great philosopher, or a great physician to come have a conversation with me. What a
Do you
beautiful.
understand? Do you understand this right? So sensory eyes basically works more with unconsciousness of humankind and consciousness. Is that right?
Yeah,
Can we say so?
yes, we use non-conscious data and we work with the mechanisms of the non-conscious brain, whether it is desire, whether it is fragrance, the creation of fragrance, the description of flavor, or creating inventions that you never thought existed. All of those things happen in the non-conscious. Sensory AI specializes in creating delights and working with the mechanisms of the non-conscious.
So amazing. So we definitely can say if brands or someone is looking to some alternative ways or other ways to connect with the customers, your company would be the right place to go and ask for consultation.
Of course, we would be, I've looked at it in the market to see, are there any other companies that use a combination of neuroscience and Gen AI? No.
No,
Are there
no.
any other companies that use non-conscious data? No. Are there any companies that target the non-conscious mechanisms of human persuasion, be it desire, or fragrance, or music? No. Our algorithms today, Genia, even extract second by second the emotions contained in music. Second by second, right? Algorithm using neuroscience. There are no companies that do that. So it's very reasonable, as you said, and very fair to say we are probably the only company that blends neuroscience and generative AI to play with, to create inventions for, and to use data pertaining.
When we were, well, remember, we actually had discussion. We had discussion back then, 2019, about the ethical part of targeting unconscious mind. Because there is, when you target in the unconscious mind, there is always something, questionable about it in terms of how ethical it is basically manipulate a human being's sensations. We know that it's very controversial.
No, it's controversial in one aspect. We will never do anything to do with a bad word. The bad word is subliminal. Subliminal means typically there is a scientific description under about 30 milliseconds. Any phenomena under 30 milliseconds is under the threshold of consciousness, and I think it should be banned, and nobody should ever come remotely close to it. I am for banning anything subliminal. However, we talk about non conscious. When a man and a woman sit at a bar, or two people sit at a bar, and they say to each other, I'm going to try to convince you to come have dinner with me. Now, they have told each other clearly, I'm here to convince you. Now, whether they convince them through words or through the fashionable clothes they wear or through the kindness they express to each other, or do they take the time to listen to each other, those are non conscious things. Most humanity uses non conscious communication more than we use conscious communication. Even as your listeners are listening to me and to you, they're drawing judgments constantly, continuously, because non consciously we are communicating to them. So the fact that something is non conscious doesn't mean it's bad. It actually means it's human. That is what
Yeah,
is human.
it's a part.
Conscious
Yeah, it's a part of.
yeah, conscious communication is not human. Only non conscious communication is. And that is why, whether it is Bumble or any of these dating programs that people have, sending text messages to each other is not communicating. You have to meet the person in person, see them face to face, hear their voices. We say that is communication. Why? Because when you hear somebody's voice, you hear the pauses, the tones, the volume, everything. So I say to you, the most natural form of human communication is non conscious. Our algorithms today work with the most natural form of human communication that is non conscious, the mechanisms of the non conscious. So, if any, we are more human when we use non conscious and not just conscious.
Yeah, we're coming close to the meaning, the entire idea of what humanity is, and I'm so thankful for it. So basically, unconsciousness is so in line with the human
Yep.
brain. And basically, I believe that's even bigger part of the human brain than consciousness. Our consciousness, unfortunately, not that fast, not that efficient, not as big. We better rely on AI algorithm in terms of consciousness, right?
I always use the caution we should be happy to trust it, but we should also continuously verify it. I believe that that inherent check and balance of trust and verification is important for the longer term health, well being, and safety of AI.
Um, in terms of trust and verification, what do we have actually modern tools and modern understanding of those things? Because honestly, I don't know, did you have a chance to see my last article? You know, I'm once in a while publishing articles on 3H Brain. And I recently look at the human in terms of the safetiness and interaction with artificial intelligence, you know, with the, all this area is shift so quickly. And lots of authors, they basically just saying that we're still in the stage of the development. We still have to, lots of things have to be estimated and evaluated in terms of how those things actually influence human being and Gestalt perspective, not just on the conscious mind, but on the unconsciousness as well. How does it touch the persona? I believe it's very big questions. Do we have, what from your perspective, do we have actually some modern, really modern tools that are actually helpful to protect us? Do we have those check and balances?
I would say to you, um, not everything that has gone into 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 each one of us is known to either one of us. I never know, Genia, what you have read, what you have heard, what meetings you've been to, what colleges you've been to, and what books and papers you read every day. I have no idea. Neither do you have an idea of what has gone into me. I'm a black box, and so are you. Now, it's possible yet that the both of us can sit in a meeting, have a meaningful, productive conversation, even though any one of our biases and and what has gone into each one of us is unknown to the other. So it's possible for two black boxes to talk to each other, learn from each other, and walk away feeling we had a meaningful and good interaction. It's the same thing with artificial intelligence with one extra piece. Now, if I say something, what do you usually do? You will say, well, Dr. Pradeep, let me make sure I understood what you said. And you would repeat it to me. In repeating it to me, you make sure that you have understood what I told you perfectly. Because if you had not understood it, I will make a correction. I will say, oh, Genia, that's not quite what I meant. And I will make the correction. A very important part of making sure AI is safe is to continuously have algorithms explain their reasoning and welcome human criticism and correction of it. And the way I urge for you to think about is if you're sitting with your little child and the child is doing a math problem, and you will say to the little one, oh, explain to me what you did in this step. The child would say, well, the reason I did this in this step was because of this, giving you an opportunity to correct the child's thinking. Think of AI as a very smart child that is working with you. In the growth process, you have to continuously ask the child, tell me what you thought about this way. And if the child made a mistake, as they do sometimes, and said something it shouldn't have said, or thought about something the way it should not have, it gives humanity an immediate opportunity to correct and to change. That, I believe, is the new role of humans with machines. Our role is to be the teacher of the machine, not just a partner and a collaborator, but a teacher of the machine to teach the machine values, morals, codes, fairness, all of the things that we as human beings value so dearly. It is going to be the role of these billions of humans to teach the billions of neurons in the neural network and the deep learning networks what human values are, what human aesthetics are, and what human morals are. That is the role of humanity, to become
How long do you
teach.
think how long do you think it might take for algorithm for deep learning algorithm to actually get the idea of actual
I
human values,
I
to
say,
get more information, get
yeah,
data, to be more reliable?
it is happening as we speak because every company, every brand has its brand values. A company will have its company values, and every one of them is starting to teach the algorithms what the guardrails are, how to think like a brand manager, how to think like a company CEO. Now, very soon, all of those lessons become part and parcel of one, what the machine learns, two, how do you teach the machine values, and all of these will happen, believe it or not, in the next few years. They need to happen in the next 2 to 3 years maximum. Why is it critical and important? These machines and algorithms are being part of our lives in an exponential basis. Exponential basis. And because they are being part of our life on an exponential basis, it is very important for us to teach the child that is driving the car what the rules of the road are. Otherwise, the child will crash the car, kill itself, and passersby in the process. Therefore, teaching the machine values, fairness, morals, integrity is a critical step in the co-evolution of humanity and algorithms together.
Ask you only last question. And last question, context. We know that context is the king. Doesn't matter in which way the media we are working, and what we're actually creating. So in terms of context factory, what is the new future? Only 4 minutes left. I believe it should be enough.
The new future, Genia, is not content factories. There are big corporations, consulting companies that are creating content factories. The two big factories are neuroscience powered content factories. That is a big new thing. The neuroscience enforced quality control mechanisms in the factory. That's one. But the more exciting piece that we are building today is IP factories, intellectual property factories, where we churn out innovations and patents at incredible speed. So that is the next generation of what we are pioneering, which is the neuroscience powered content and also the neuroscience powered intellectual property and inventions and innovations along with protections that go with them. This is the big aha. This is the big future.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for the explanation. It was very interesting to hear you, and it was a very interesting conversation. I've heard so many details that were actually discovery for me. So I'm very thankful and appreciate you being here with us.
Pleasure.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for your lovely questions. and your patience in hearing my answers. I wish you and your listeners a very happy voyage exploring